So welcome again. We test today on everything that we're trying to do here with you and introduce you to a bit of parenting. Um, inshallah, it is recording now for you, inshallah, and you can see everything, inshallah. My name is Kathleen. I'm Managing Director of Approachable Parenting. I don't see the chat facility, but if somebody can nominate themselves to be responsible for the chat and actually unmic themselves to ask me any questions as we go along, that would be wonderful, inshallah. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Brilliant. Thank you, indeed, Mahalaya. So Approachable Parenting is an organization that we set up a number of years ago, going back over 10 years now, to try and help the communities, because we found that Muslim families weren't attending parenting courses, and we didn't know how best to help them, and we started doing some research, and what came out of that research was they said that they wanted something from their faith, from their culture, from their background, and hence we developed the first five pillars of parenting course from our faith perspective, ayahs of hadith and Quran, and linked it to psychology. And that was started in 2007, and now we have 4 different parenting courses in total, with Pregnancy and Beyond, which is similar to Pregnancy to 3, but it's only a 4-week course, and then Pregnancy to 3, which is an 8-week course. 4 to 11, our teenage course. We train trainers that get a teaching qualification as part of their training, and then we also have some relationship coaching that we do, and pre it all, we do pre-marriage, because this is what we're really helping the parents, really, if we get the relationship right. So it's looking at who is the father or the mother of children going to be, rather than just the marriage. So it's looking at looking at the wedding, and not just looking at the wedding day, looking at the marriage. So we developed that course as well, which is a good success. It is a 1-day coaching workshop. And we train up parents and peer mentor other parents. We've got lots of qualifications, as you can see. We've been scrutinized by, I think, every single governmental office possible. And we received the Can Parenting Quality Mark in the House of Commons in 2014, alhamdulillah, one of the first 3 organizations to get that in the UK. So we understand the importance of parenting for everybody, but especially for our Muslim families. They needed something that they could identify with. And in our faith, alhamdulillah, there's so many examples of parenting. There's so many ayahs and hadiths, and I'm not able to go through everything today, but so much examples of parenting there and how we can be good parents. And it is important to remember that, inshallah, that we are developing families, the bedrock of society, and how to build our society, build our family homes to have that loving, caring family home, inshallah. And why we have had many programs is it's like having hydrogen and oxygen together. The 2 elements, if you remember from your science days, they come together and they form water, yes? In the vapor stage, you can bounce around the water. Imagine the steam of the kettle coming out. That's the pregnancy to 3 stage. This is a critical stage, which I referred back to later on. After steam, what do we have next? We have liquid. We can maneuver liquid. This is our school-going age, our 4 to 11 age. What comes after liquid? And I know you all know this, the ice. If we get in early, we can design that ice. We can sculpture that ice. We still need to touch it up, but we can sculpture it. So we won't have those hard blocks of ice to move in the teenage stages. And I'm afraid a lot of the issues that come to us around parenting come in the teenage stage, where we have those blocks of ice, and especially in lockdown, there's been lots of issues around teenagers in that time. So today I wanted to give you a bit of background around that before we going into you looking at how you're going to be coping at home and your work-life balance, inshallah. So I hope all that makes sense for you all indeed, as we're talking about parenting. And parenting being a trust, a reward, something we're getting rewarded for, subhanAllah, from Allah with the correct intention. So if we have the correct intention of doing whatever it is, whether it's buying shopping or clothes or playing with our children, we actually are going to be rewarded for that as parents. So imagine the amount of rewards that we can get. And this is what we help parents to think about when we're doing our programs. It is gaining rewards from Allah, coming closer to Allah, being that role model to your children, helping your children to learn their parenting concepts from you now. As even a small child, they're absorbing everything, subconsciously and consciously absorbing everything you're doing. And some of you, if you are parents, you will probably think back to the time when you may have disagreed with your parents yourself when you were younger and said, I'm not going to do it like this as a parent, I'm going to do it differently. But then when you get older and you're in a similar situation, you revert back to what your parents did. And that is natural, that we do revert back. And what we're trying to say here is when you should be more conscious, more aware of your parenting now, because your children will be doing the same. And if your concepts, or you need some help or some skills, or some people come on our parenting programs that just want to see what it's about, just want you to be better parents. If that is the case, do join the courses, because this is your time to change concepts. Often we bring with us cultural misconcepts that are not quite correct and are not part of our faith. But if we were role modeling everything correctly and forming our basis on our faith, on our religion, on our Quran, on Prophet Muhammad, on the role modeling and using Prophet Muhammad as our role model, we will all be better parents, me included indeed. And I have to hold my hat off that at times we all forget about this. You know, parenting issues come up and we may forget what our faith tells us. But alhamdulillah, our faith is there to really help us and support us. And there's so much content in our faith, mashallah, about parenting, alhamdulillah. So we want to raise our children, and our children will benefit us now, not just now in this world, but also in the hereafter. SubhanAllah, raising righteous children, as you know, we will gain rewards for it, inshallah. And so much respect for parents in the Quran, subhanAllah. And here's just some examples of that. Parenting is a trust and a form of worship, and know your possessions and your children are a test, and with Allah is a mighty reward. SubhanAllah. How many times have you read this and really reflected on this? That the reward you can get from parenting your children, or your grandchildren, or anybody else that you're involved in that parenting role. So you may not be a parent, but you could be involved as an auntie, as an uncle, in a parenting role. These are very important roles. And people that surround that child are really important in raising the child. And I'm sure you've often heard of, it takes a village to raise a child. But it's so true. It takes not just a couple, a mom and dad, but a whole extended family to really raise a child. And everybody has a part to play in this. We have another very important Islamic concept: play for 7, teach them for 7, and be friends with them for 7. So again, breaking up the sections here that we need to have as part of our Islamic teachings, play being so important. And we find so many parents that actually overlook that and overlook the initial stages of raising children. And especially if we're talking about babies, the importance of interacting with babies, the importance of loving babies, the importance of building that secure attachment that underpins their life, that underpins how they form relationships when they go to school, how they're going to form friendships when they move on to university, how they're going to look for a future spouse. All of this and who they are is underpinned by that secure attachment and the importance in the early years. So we should put aside, sometimes when you hear of babies only need to sleep and take them up to be fed and change their nappies, and that's all they need. That is not important. That is not all they need. They need much more, and you cannot spoil a baby. It's really important that you think of this, that we can't spoil a baby. And here's some of the other things that we have here about adab and repentance, etc., that underpins what I'm trying to get across to you, the message about today. Now, I pulled up 3 little questions here. I was hoping for it to be a little bit more interactive, but I think because of shortage of time, I don't want to delay you and etc. Also, I'd probably go through this, but if you're able to write down anything before we go through the different sections, what are the qualities you think parents should have? What are the responsibilities parents should have? And what are some of the family values parents should have? And these are the concepts that underpins our families, really, these three things. And qualities, I'm sure you've all thought about before, about yourselves, about being a role model, about being just, about being merciful, being honest, taking on that responsibility. These are the qualities we should have in ourselves, inshallah, to be good parents, inshallah. When we're looking at responsibilities, we've broken them down into 5 different sectors indeed, looking at physical, looking at emotional, looking at social, looking at intellectual, looking at spiritual. And that underpins a lot of different concepts in our lives. And so it's not just parents, but if you look at different organizations or schooling or outside activities such as scouts, they will have similar principles underpinning how they manage their children. But as parents, we probably have we've responsibilities to make sure we are following this through according to our Islamic faith, that we are looking and nourishing our children and helping them for horse riding, archery, swimming is mentioned in the Quran, so that we're helping them to gain those skills. We're looking after them emotionally wise, looking after how do they control their emotions, looking after them socially, looking after them intellectually, and looking after them spiritually. And here's our other examples then of qualities that or values that you have: love, commitment, caring, and fulfilling your promises. How many of you make promises to your children but actually don't keep? And this, when we're looking at lockdown in particularly, this is vitally important, that we are not making promises that we are not keeping. How many of you say inshallah and actually you don't quite mean God willing? Have any of you had your children come back to you and say to you when they were very young, as mine said to me one time when they were very young, inshallah means it will never happen, which is a big shame. I remember in particularly taking them shopping when we used to go abroad, and we'd often be told, come back to the shop tomorrow, Bukra inshallah, we'll have it. And we go back to the shop tomorrow and the item wouldn't be in the shop. And they'd say, Bukra inshallah, and we go back the following day, the item still wasn't in the shop. So they were learning or thinking, they were perceiving that inshallah means it doesn't happen. And that is because us as adults don't use it properly. And we need to be using what we're saying properly all the time, but especially now under these more stressful times of lockdown, when there is more restrictions on us, when we are really feeling the strain of lockdown on each of us as parents working from home, children at home all the time, having in the last few weeks to teach children as well as doing your work. So it was really hard for a lot of parents. It's really hard to get that balance there, to get that space at home to be able to do their own work. Maybe some of you have been lucky that you've had a spouse that have been able to give more time to the children while you've been able to work. But then there's a give and take in that. You might have been in families where 2 spouses are working, and how you've managed to cope with that. So it'd be really nice to hear some of your examples of some of your difficulties that you had, so we can go through them a bit later on, inshallah, if we've got some time for question and answers. So that love and commitment is really important. That caring and fulfilling promises, as I mentioned. Having close family bonds, being thankful to each other, showing appreciation. Respect and value in everybody's thoughts, feelings, and contributions. Honesty. Honesty is so important. It's the foundation of all relationships, and we need to be honest, even if you hear of things that you don't want to hear. Your children will not share with you if you are not honest with them as well. So we need to be honest and bring what we need and practice this, so that we get our children to be honest with us and share their lives with us their ups and their downs and their issues, which is because some of you may have older children that may not be sharing things with you, may be sharing things with other people, and wouldn't be so important to be there as part of the family. Responsibility, role modeling the qualities, as we said, giving excuses for your children when they make mistakes. You know, again, going back to our Islam says, give 70 excuses if we've done something wrong. How many of us do that? How many of us think about that and give excuses to our children? Give excuses to each other. Things do go wrong. Today we've had a technical problem with me not being able to get on to you on the internet today into the call on Teams. I don't know, I just couldn't get in as an external person. So we had to think, how can we modify this and work through this and come up with other solutions, which we did. And here you're all on, although we're running a little bit later than we promised, we're all on it together. So this is what parenting is about as well, working together as a family. So a lot of the skills that you actually have already in your workplace, you can bring into your parenting. And what people forget, they think workplace is workplace or faith is somewhere else. Actually, they all interlink into your parenting. And we're going to be talking later on about maybe SMART goals, etc., that you can actually use also in your parenting and teach your children this. Empathy. Oh, empathy is a favorite of mine. If we truly were able to empathize with everybody, the world would be a different place, totally different place. So empathy, often people describe it as putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, but it's really feeling what they're going through, really feeling the pain of what they're going through. So being able to do that and put yourself in your children's shoes is really important to understand how they are, what are they doing and how they are coping through this lockdown is vitally important. The Prophet ﷺ showed empathy, mashallah. He again, what a role model we have there from the Prophet ﷺ, that he never turned his body giving side face or looking away from the person. He looked straight to the person when he was communicating with them. He smiled, you could see his back teeth. Eye contact, showed empathy, communicating really well. And this is the importance of communication indeed as we communicate with our children. And I hope you can see me in this. I'm going to draw something now as a compass, and please do follow me. So if you remember your compass days, and this is the point, you put the point on the paper, remember, and you draw your compass the whole way around. Are you all doing that? Yeah. And now bring your finger, that point, up to your chin. Okay, how many of you followed me and went to your cheek? If you can type into the box and I get some feedback from Mahalea, or how many went to your chin? I'm sure when we do this in workshops, most people follow and they do as they are being, as they see, and they go into, they just follow that and they go up to the cheek indeed, rather than hearing what the words we say. And we know the words we say are only a small part of how we communicate, but they're a very important part of how we communicate. Yeah. So, inshallah, if you can give me some feedback on that, if that makes sense to you so far. Are we all okay? Making sense?
Yeah, Kathleen, all good.
All good so far. Okay.
Yeah.
So here we're looking at going into, so that is a little bit of a background really into where we are in parenting and what we should be doing. A very quick background. I'm sure some of you have questions around that, but it is what we should be doing as parents. Now in lockdown, of course, things get much harder. Although we're coming out of lockdown, it is easier than what it was previously for the last 3 months. It is getting easier, alhamdulillah. We're able to go to the parks now. We're able to go on out. We're able to do different bubbling. But a lot of people are still quite worried and quite anxious about doing that. And a lot of people feel unsafe about doing that, about leaving their home. And then there is some people who don't have this nice heart in their home, whose home is not tranquil and not a place of peace. It's important to have our homes a place of tranquility, a place of safety, a place of role modeling, as I mentioned previously, that we are there trying to build that in our homes, inshallah, so that people come to us. Our homes should be like a magnet, so that your children will want to come home and want to find peace there and want to find happiness there. And it should be a place of joy, of laughter. There's nothing in our Islam that's telling us we can't have all of this in our home. So do you know the way you go to the door and you run to the door when your best friend coming to visit you now, especially coming out of lockdown, and maybe the first time they're coming, that you're opening a bubble to somebody new, whether it's your parents, grandparents for the first time, or another household, another bubble coming, and you open your door and you're so happy to see them and a big smile in your face, welcome them in. That's what we should be like to each other in our homes every day. Welcoming each other in like this, welcoming our children, making our children feel happy when they come home from school, when they are at school and come back, making each other, looking after each other. So not just not knowing who's in the house, as often happens that children come in, bang the door, go up to the room, and they don't know who's in the house, or a spouse comes in and don't even greet the other spouse. So we should go to the door if we can and greet the person coming in. And if you're busy and you're not able to go to the door, the person coming in should go and find you and have a greeting and give each other a hug and a greeting that you would give each other, so your children can see this is what family life is about. This is how you start building that structure, that tranquility, that safety at home, that loving environment, that you are welcome, that you feel part of, that you feel that you can influence, that what you say there is accepted. It may not always be right, but is accepted and talked, and we have open conversation and we can discuss things. And this is what we need to create from the very beginning, from children when they're very young, when babies, it can impact on the words. When they cry, that means they need attention. That means their voice is being heard. That they are learning. They can actually have an impact on the family from day one. So from that cry right up, we need to be able to be responding to our children, responding to their language, responding to them, to have happier homes, inshallah. Now, I have put this together, but it's not my creation. This is from a friend of mine, Brother Saeed. Some of you may know him already. We did a show recently about happy homes, and he actually did an acronym called the Creator. Mashallah, Brother Saeed is also a counselor as well as one of our lovely trainers. And I did tell him I was going to ask his permission, actually, could I use this today? And he was very happy. And I think this is a lovely way of remembering what we need in our homes, especially as we're trying to multitask and get an environment for our children, for ourselves, to feel that we can work in at home, that feel that we are peaceful at home, to feel that we can cope at home. So having open communication, a healthy family, easy to respond to each other, understanding ourselves, our thoughts, our feelings, our needs, and being able to express them, communicating them. I remember many years ago, before I came into this work and counseling and parenting, when I was a nurse and a midwife, and I'd hear about issues being lack of communication, and I'm thinking, lack of communication, we're all speaking English, what's going on here, lack of communication? Of course, when you go to study communication and study the different forms of communication and the different levels, there's 4 or 5 different levels of communication and how we communicate, we understand that there is more to communication than we often take on board. And I'm sure you, as a big organization with Islamic Relief, know this, the importance of communicating what it is you want done, and making sure that message gets across from you to the other person, and that person understands it, and then they're able to feed back to you. So you're used to doing this in the workplace. The same concept you can take into your family. So it's communicating or a task, or communicating something to your child. You're sending the message to them. You're checking in that they understand it. And often as parents, we don't do this. But if we were in the workplace, we would. They understand it, they know what to do. And then in the workplace, we say, come back and tell me when it's done and report back, yeah? We often don't do this at home in the family. How many times do we tell our children to come back and tell us when it's done? Instead, we keep shouting after them. Have you done that yet? Have you done that yet? And shouting. So if we change this or modify this a little bit, we can get our children to come back and talk to us more. And that will avoid all the miscommunication, and we will increase the security and the love in the family. Now, respect is crucial. It's important for a healthy family that we respect each other. Respect is not a given right. Respect has to be earned. You respect me, I respect you, alhamdulillah. So it's something we have to earn. So we can't expect our children to respect us if we do not respect them. We can't expect our children to respect our workspace if we do not respect their space and their workspace when they're trying to do their studies, or when they're trying to play, or when they're trying to watch a television program. So you can imagine if you were watching your favorite program, whatever it is, you're looking forward to this, or your news on Gazir or something, whatever it is you're watching, and somebody comes in and just turns the TV off. Would you like it very much? No, we wouldn't like it. And this is important, that when we respect everybody, so if we are putting boundaries in place, and if we do need to do something, we need to give a warning. So if we are saying that we need to go out to our children and they're watching something, we have to give them a countdown. Remember, we said we have to go out now, we have to turn off the program when it comes to an end, etc., so that they know what to expect, and we're able to give them that pre-warning. And understand that this is part of normal life, and respecting each other. It's important for us to respect their space. We all respect each other's spaces. In lockdown, we probably don't have as much space. You know, we're together, working family. You have to find your corner of the house or a room or somewhere that you can work from home. If you've got children, where do they work? If you've got elders that you're looking after them, where do they work? Where does everybody have that space? And we're going to talk about that in lockdown, the importance of having that space. And I'm sure by now we're well into lockdown that you have found that you have found that space that you can have that peace and tranquility around, that you can get on with your work. That's so important, that our children also have that space. E is for empowerment. In order to thrive, family members, we need to encourage each other, nurture each other, send messages of affirmation to each other, send positive messages to each other. Do we actually do this? Do we actually pull up on the positives and reflect that back and help people to achieve their goals? Do we actually praise each other? If I was to ask you what it is like if somebody criticized you, not in the workplace, because in the workplace they tend to give you positive criticism, but if you're at home where people don't think about positive criticism and they criticize you, or that food was burnt today, or what you do wearing this, or you don't look happy, or you're looking tired, or when things come on out not very respectful to you, how do you feel when you're criticized? You feel like not cooking that dish again, or not committing to the same using the same commitment to achieve things. But when you are complimented, now think about when you're complimented. How does that make you feel? Is that different? Yeah. I'm sure you're thinking about times that you're complimented. So when you're complimented, we know you feel that you want to do the same level again, the same amount of effort, or even more to achieve more. And that's the same with our children and indeed in our families. So it is picking up on the positives to empower, to make people feel worthwhile, to increase their self-worth. And this is so important. And if we come to our programs, we actually divide the praise into two. So praise is different, praise for actions and praise for being. And for the praise for being, it is building that character. And how can we build that character? And that's really important. It's not just for actions all the time. And we look more into that and building characters. So that's what we're about, building the next generation, inshallah, of Muslims. Acceptance. So A is for acceptance. The need to know and believe that you are valued and appreciated. Vital part of the family unit. That you are accepted. That we all have faults and we are accepted for them. We will try to overcome our faults and be better people, but we are accepted for who we are. And that's really important, that we all feel that we are accepted in our homes. Task orientated. T is for task orientated. Well, I'm sure you're all very task orientated, which is, it's got its advantages in being in a happy family of being task orientated, being part of a family structure where we have responsibilities, rights, and we have to be accountable. So with rights comes responsibilities, and we are accountable for those. There's always an outcome. And if we break down two tasks, two age-appropriate tasks for our children, and structure our day around these tasks so that everybody knows what they're doing, that will help us better in having that parent-child relationship and that happier families in lockdown. So everybody knows their roles, everybody knows their duties, everybody has some guidelines. Everybody is able to do their tasks accordingly. And this can be a very fun program, very fun orientation, that you can actually get your children to design some tasks so that, and they could decide, if you've got that flexibility around work, when is your working time in your tasks? So maybe there's some tasks in there that you have to put in. So from this time to this time, I'm working, I'm away, I'm not being able to be involved with you. But then you can give them the flexibility. Okay, when I have another piece of work to do that will take 2 hours, when would you like me to do that time? And then work around that to have some family time with them, to be able to enjoy time with them, to be able to do things together, to be able to go out for walks together, go riding together, sitting down together as a family, getting to know them, helping them to be able to express themselves. Because it's not just all about tasks and learning for children. Yes, education is really important, but if your children don't have that emotional awareness and that emotional ability, and be able to express their emotions, they're not able to learn academically. So emotional intelligence is really, really important in this, in helping them. But it's in doing tasks and doing a to-do list is really fun thing to do, inshallah, and helps us to be more organized as we're going in the organization, having a structure and a mechanism, a structure that we can work around in the family. So it's like putting together a jigsaw, that we all have a piece together. And this can be rotated around as to who's doing what when. You know, and if we have couples that are working together, how do you take it in rotation, that you're going to work and I'm going to have some free time with the children, or vice versa, so that we are working together as a family, and we're coming together as a family, and we're helping each other as a family, and we as couples are recognizing each other's worth and really promoting and helping each other and understanding each other's worth. Maybe we have different jobs with different incomes, but it doesn't mean that those jobs aren't important. Do you measure your value of worth from your income? No, our intentions are so important, and maybe inshallah Allah might might reward one of us that is not getting very much of an income compared to somebody else that is getting more of an income, because their intention is there to do good, the greater good. And alhamdulillah, in Islamic Relief, I know you're all working for the greater good, mashallah, and you've all got so much commitments there in working together to fulfill Allah's duty with others. But please don't forget about your own families. Please, and I really want to get across this message to you today, because I've often come across families that are committed and working in great causes like you're working, and unfortunately their own families suffer because of this. You need to give time. You have responsibility to give time in part of that organization to look after your own family as well. So part of this O is looking after your family too, inshallah, so that you give the amount of time that your family needs. Your family needs you. As we mentioned earlier on, it takes a village to raise a child, definitely. It takes extended family, it takes everybody involved, and your involvement is really important. And sometimes we have single parents that also are raising children. That other parent, even though they may not be involved in that family, they may be outside that family, but that parent is also important and needs to have access to children to help them, inshallah, to develop. It's really a crucial, essential that children know and have both parents, inshallah, even if they're not living in the same family structure. And then the R is for resilience. So I'm going to talk a little bit about resilience, because here we are in lockdown. And there's been a few talks about resilience, about bouncing back, about trying to get children to bounce back, trying to bounce back ourselves, trying to be more resilient ourselves. It's important to have emotional resilience, to be able to, and I think I put up a slide on this actually about emotional resilience, where it is there, yes. To look at this a bit more, to think about how are we going to bring this into our family. So how well does your family deal in crises and emergencies? What do you're very used to dealing in crises and emergencies of others, of other countries. What have you learned from that you can bring into your own family? What coping mechanisms can you introduce in your own family? And then share with others also. So maybe you're doing this already in Islamic Relief, and looking at some techniques and coping strategies that go well, and you share with others. It's really important that we call it good practice, looking at good practice and sharing good practice, indeed, and sharing it together. So being able to cope better, bringing those mechanisms into your family, how we can manage to cope better, how can we be more open and discuss our fears and concerns. Do you sit down with your family and have regular sit-down time, halakha time or circle time with your family, so that you're able to communicate with them, understand them, whatever age they are. For younger children, and especially for teenagers. It's for teenagers where we know emotions, hormones, everything kicks in, and peers are more important to them often than their parents. It's actually more important that we're sitting down with them and getting to know them and helping them to overcome their fears, inshallah, and learning together. Because we're all fearful. This is a period, and we've not gone through it yet to come out and say there's nothing to worry about. No, we're coming out of lockdown knowing that the virus is still there, it's still affecting families. Parents are passing away, unfortunately. In Birmingham alone, we've had 685 children have lost their parents, which is a huge number of children. How many children have lost their grandparents? So we'll know we're going back to school with huge amount of issues and worries because of that. Children themselves and Muslim children, don't think it doesn't involve Muslim children, mental health, are also suffering from being at home and being isolated and not meeting their own peers. We know there's a higher incidence of self-harm, there's higher suicidal rates. So this is where we need to be tuned into our families and looking at our families and seeing how can we help them to be more resilient, to be able to understand resilience better. Because if we have low resilience, this is a little diagram here that what happens. Our thoughts, there is so much that I can do, I can't cope with the situation, which affects the behavior, snapping in the family, overreacting in situations, which affects our feelings. We're feeling stressed and irritable. Well, we need to change around this to having greater resilience, understanding our thought process. There's a lot to balance with getting that opportunity and understanding our thoughts, which have an impact on our behavior, establishing routines, establishing time together, and then our feelings where we're feeling motivated to problem solve and to be able to come together and develop that lovely happy home that I said with the heart in it that we all want, inshallah, to be part of. So here is some why resilience is important, and I let you kind of read through this for a couple of minutes yourselves to understand the importance of that, because it's not just for our physical health but also for our emotional health and how it benefits us as a family, for better families, inshallah. And we are all one as a human being. We are attached, our brain, our mental health is attached to us, and 1 in 5 of us we know suffer from mental health problems, and we should go seek help if we are not able to get that help at home from somebody that we know. We should seek professional help, and there's lots of listening services out there. If you need parenting help, please come to us. Indeed, Islamic Relief has helped us over the years, mashallah, to train up trainers up and down UK. We have trainers in Bradford, Manchester, London, as well as the West Midlands, delivering our courses. And we've delivered to many, many hundreds, if not thousands of people now over the years. And the last report we just sent in only a couple of weeks ago, mashallah, when we evaluated all the work we were doing, had a significant element in had a significant difference in every single element. So if you come from an academic background, you know how that is huge, that every single element that we were measuring, whether it was parenting and dysfunctional families, to behaviors of children and emotions of children, to stress and anxiety of parents, we made a difference in every single element, mashallah. So a lot of other organizations would love to have this results, inshallah. So please do seek advice there as you're coming in and seeking help, inshallah. As I'm coming towards an end of this, I'm going to leave some time for question and answers, indeed to pull up these slides before I pull up a relaxation at the very end. But here's something that you might like to think of when you're looking at lockdown and creating that balance in at home. So how do you plan ahead and be organized? You're used to doing this in an organization. You're used to planning huge projects. You're used to working to projects. So it's the same thing, bringing those skills into your household and planning for the week. What are we going to do for the week? What work do I have to do? What hours do I have to do that work? What are the children doing? What hours do they need to do activities or play or study? And remember, now they're on holidays. So give them, please, opportunity to enjoy their holidays so that they actually can come back and recharge themselves as well in this time, inshallah, over the holiday break, to be able to go back to school. Stick to your routine. Create those boundaries. Don't be tempted to work 24/7. I know it's, for some of us, it's harder, and I need to take this on board myself also, that we feel that we are, and often I am working not quite 24/7, but definitely 16/7. And I need to be mindful of that myself, as you also need to be mindful of looking after yourselves. Because if something was to happen to you, who's going to look after your children? So it's not being selfish, looking after ourselves and taking that me time for ourselves. Remember when you're on the airplane, those days when we used to be able to fly, and the air hostess would say, if there is an oxygen or some sort of pressure that's needed, your oxygen mask will drop down, and put your oxygen mask on yourself first before you put on your child. This is the same here. You need to give yourself that oxygen mask first. You need to look after yourself. You need to give yourself that space to relax. And we're going to come to a relaxation exercise at the end. I wanted to end with that so you can actually have that space for yourself to be able to relax, and build that into your daily routine. Maybe link it to a prayer where you actually have some time to reflect on your day and to retune yourself and to reconnect with Allah and what you're doing. It is vital. Have designated workspace. We kind of already allude to that over the session, that you have a space that you're working in. Make sure that it's not the kitchen table. As I found when I first came home thinking lockdown, okay, I can work on the kitchen table. It doesn't work effectively when you have others that are trying to use the kitchen as well. So make sure you have a quiet space, a space that everybody know this is your workspace between this time and this time. Even put up notice on your on the door, you know, meeting in action now, please do not disturb. So others know as well that what's going on. And don't forget to tell them and send that message around that everybody knows what's happening. So it's minimizing the problems, discussing the issues and minimizing the problems later on. Prioritize the relaxation. As I mentioned, you're giving some time for yourself, going outdoors, looking at nature. Alhamdulillah, nature hasn't stopped, but it definitely helps our mood when we walk, go outside and look at nature and get more involved in the garden. If you have a garden, able to do some garden or go on walks, go to parks, definitely has a huge impact on our moods. So try and get out and do those walking, have some physical exercise each day that we're getting into our lives. Problem solving issues from the very beginning. So coming to that mentality that we're a family that problem solves. We are solution focused. Our family is solution focused. So looking at different options and how we can look at the best option and then work through that option in making an action plan, making smart goals and achieving those goals. So again, things that you're used to at work, have in the family. Making time for socializing and switching off, having me time and embracing change for yourself, inshallah, and prioritizing your family and Allah. If you have time, take this as home task. We wouldn't have time to do it now, but I think it's a good thing that we should all be doing regularly, a SWOT analysis on ourselves. How many times have you done that before? Have you ever done that before? Have you ever done a SWOT analysis on ourselves? Looking at our strengths, our achievements, our skills that are unique to us. And then looking at our weaknesses, what we avoid doing. So what is our weaknesses? You're doing this personally, nobody needs to know about this, but understanding those weaknesses and then looking at those weaknesses and trying to convert them into goals, one thing, and changing that one thing. Then the opportunities that we take advantage of because of our strengths. And then looking at the threats, our dreams, and minimize those threats from outside. So this you may be used to doing in the workplace, but it's really good to do it on yourself to achieve personal goals, inshallah. So in summary, in rounding this off, we often have breakdown due to poor communication, a conflict in values that end up in conflict, maybe generation gap. If you've got time this evening, we're going to be talking about that live on Unity FM at 5 o'clock, parenting hour between 5 and 6 p.m. this evening. This evening, we actually have Brother Saeed, who I talked about earlier on, who is one of our trainers, as well as a counselor, and Sister Abida, who is a relay counselor. And we're going to be talking about relationship breakdown, because unfortunately, over the last 3-4 months, a lot of our couples, esteemed couples in our community, have gone through issues and are going through issues. And we want to try and give some tips with that this evening. So I'm not going through that now, because I'm going through that at 5 o'clock on Unity FM. You can log in live online, or you can download the app, or you can listen on the radio if you're driving home and are in the workplace today. You tune in on the way home on Unity FM. So there's a little summary of what we've done now, that we should be looking after ourselves in lockdown, looking after each other, trying to find opportunities to come together with our children, taking into account our roles and responsibilities. Everybody has roles, everybody has responsibilities. We all have rights as well, looking after each other's rights, human rights, Islamic rights. Involve everybody in decision making, creating an environment to connect to each other, setting boundaries so everybody is safe, teaching our children how to handle our emotions, and we being the role model of how to handle our emotions and express our emotions correctly, problem solving, getting enough sleep in, teaching our children, and always coming back to Allah and asking Allah to forgive us, to give us rewards, inshallah, for everything that we're doing, inshallah. I mean, and that's, I'm going to allow some time for any questions before I pull up our relaxation, if you're still able to stay on for our relaxation. Any questions? You can take off your mics if you want to ask anything. I know there's a few things in the chat box. The question is, how can we deal with children who are moody? Oh dear. Okay, well, we first need to ask, why are they moody? What's going on there? And it's quite, you know, it's quite a broad question to answer here. So what is happening for them, and what age is the child as well? Are we looking at a teenager, or are we looking at a younger child? So I have a few questions to ask, and maybe we could have that conversation. If you want to email me, kathleen@approachableparenting.org.uk, or we can, so what's the question? Oh, 11-year-olds. Yeah, so 11-year-old, we would call them pre-teenagers already. And actually, we start our teenage program from that age. And parents need to first start thinking about what it was like to go through your teenage years yourself. Remember the hormones. Remember that burst of hormones there that would affect you. Remembering that one day you wanted to be an adult and sit with the adults, and another day you wanted to play and be with the kids. Very confusing. It is very difficult really to go through and be able to manage all those emotions. But if you can remember back what it was and how hard it was for you going through that teenage period, and then talk to your child, talk to them, what's going on for them, what's happening for them, what are they experiencing, what's preempting this, what is the triggers there, and getting them to understand the triggers, and then working through those triggers. Now, I think you will email me and we can talk through it a bit more, and maybe have a conversation a bit more about this. But that's just the basic about what we should be doing when we're communicating with our children, having open conversations with our children, so that we are understanding them and what's happening for them. Because especially at the moment, we're only seeing the top of the iceberg. So we're probably seeing that mood, whatever that mood is, that kick off, you know, or that shouting or that sulking, you know, there's two extremes here of how children behave. So we're only seeing the top of the iceberg. What's going on underneath that iceberg? What stresses are they going through? What fear are they going through at the moment, not knowing what's going to happen? Are they going to go back to school? What friends are going to be there when they go back to school? The changes that's happening there, are they going to have friendships or not having friendships? All of these things impact on our children, especially the children going into teenage years. Peers are much more influential than what you are as parents, I'm sorry to say, in the teenage years. So we need to take into consideration all of that when we're looking at the teenagers. And then when we have that iceberg, we need to find out those issues and then problem solve those issues one by one. Now, there'll be some things that we don't have control over, that we can't manage, like the coronavirus or the weather, for example. We can't change that, but definitely there'll be things in there that we will have some control over, and that we can pull out, and we can start working on those and managing those and see how we can bring them into perspective. So that's just a quick summary of what we can do, inshallah. Any other questions before we go on to the relaxation? I think we do have to go on to the relaxation if you're okay, because I'm going to be starting the radio show at about 4:45 to bring in my guests. So is that okay with you all? Thumbs up, everything okay? It's lovely to see you all. I'm so sorry that we didn't have introductions at the beginning, because we ran late. I just went straight into it. which is so lovely to see you all involved in the oh no, where is my I did have it already pulled up the session for you. For the relaxation session. Yeah, I'm trying to pull up this and maybe give you some feedback.
While you're looking for that, Kathleen, yeah, I just wanted to say thank you so much for your time today. And you know, I know you had to bear with us at the start for the technical issues, but really, really appreciate like your time and you know the valuable information and presentation that you've done for everyone today. It's really, really informative, and I found it myself really, really beneficial and useful. So I'm sure all the rest of the attendees also felt the same. So yeah, just thank you so much.
For you indeed. I'm just going to try and end now with this relaxation. If I'm opening it up here now, if I just open it up again. Can you hear that?
Welcome to
Can you hear that if I play it?
I could kind of hear something, yes, in the background a bit.
Okay. It's
Approachable Parenting Relaxation CD, Journey Through Paradise. I hope you benefit from listening to the CD.
Did you hear that? We're going into CD now. Were you talking?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Okay. So just to explain this a bit more, it is from our program. What we do, it is a relaxation exercise because I mentioned the importance of looking after ourselves. This is a time that a relaxation that we need to do for the breathing first. So when we are breathing, and you can teach your children to breathe in for 3, hold for 3, and breathe out for 3. And really follow what the script is saying, breathing, concentrating on yourself, as we come to an end of this session, and try and take this time to block out what's going on around you, everybody, and just focus on yourself for the 10 minutes that we're going to be playing this CD. Enjoy. Relaxation exercise. It's really nice, so quiet and warm. If you've got anything in your hands, please put it on the floor. Check that your mobile phones are switched off or on silent. Okay, now let's start. Please sit comfortably in your chairs and take some deep breaths. In through your nose and out your mouth. In and out. Breathing in and out, nice and slowly. Concentrate on your breathing. Breathing in and out. Place your hands on your thighs and spread your fingers apart. As you're breathing in and out, wiggle those fingers and feel the tension moving away from your body, down your arms and out those fingers. Concentrate on your breathing as you clench your fists and open them out to release that tension. Now, find the tension moving away from your face. Moving down your face, down your neck, down your arms, and going out your fingers. Feel those fingers becoming more relaxed. Let your jaw relax so that your face is relaxed.
Scrunch your shoulders and let them relax. Feel the tension moving away from your body as you're breathing deeply. In and out. Straighten your toes in your shoes and then crunch them up again. Then straighten them again. Wiggle those toes as the tension moves down your legs and out your toes. Place your feet flat on the ground and feel that tension moving away out of your toes and away from your body. As you feel more relaxed, you think you are more relaxed and concentrate on your breathing. Nice and slowly. In and out. In and out. We're now arriving at the gates of paradise. And the gates open for you. And there in front of you is paradise. You look around in amazement. You can't believe that you're actually inside paradise. SubhanAllah. You only read about this and had stories about paradise, but you never thought you'd arrive here. Here you are, in this wonderful place, with beautiful smells you never smelt of before. Such wonderful, wonderful smells. And beautiful bright colors everywhere. Flowers that you never saw before in your life. All smelling so wonderful. You're amazed by the sight in front of you. And as you walk further and further into paradise, you meet people. And everybody is smiling and looking at you and saying Salaam Alaikum and welcoming you. And you're overwhelmed that they know your name and they're greeting you. You walk further and further along. And you're so happy to be here in paradise. And you remember the hadith that was related by Omar. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever is admitted to paradise shall live and never die, and shall be happy and never miserable, and his clothes shall never wear out, nor he never grow older. You look down at your clothes, and you're wearing silken garments with gold threads through them. They're making you feel so luxurious, so elegant. You walk on a little bit further, and you hear a scream. And you wonder, what is this noise? What is this scream? And you remember reading about Al-Kawthar, the river Al-Kawthar. And you wonder, is this Al-Kawthar? And then you realize, yes, this is the river that you read about. And you go and drink from it. And you remember, whoever drinks from Al-Kawthar will never be thirsty. It's a wonderful, wonderful smell. A wonderful drink. And you see other rivers of milk of wine. Everything is allowed. You think to yourself, oh, it would be nice to have some fruit. And you're just thinking of some grapes. And here the grapes arrive in front of you. And you pick one and eat them. And it's the most juiciest and sweet grape that you've ever tasted. Wonderful, wonderful taste. And you thank Allah for allowing you to come here. You start walking further along the path. And you see some houses. Many, many houses. Many palaces. And each brick is made of gold and another brick of silver. Huge big palaces. And the cement is made of musk. As you walk along the gravel, which is consistent of pearls and rubies, you walk past these palaces. And then you notice that there's names over the doors of these palaces. And you begin to wonder, where is your palace? And you start looking around. In the distance, you see a big, big palace. And you wonder who's living there. And you start walking towards it. As you're walking along, you see that the soil is consistent of saffron. The smells getting stronger and stronger. Beautiful smells of musk. You walk past other palaces and you're coming very close to this big, big palace. Now you're at this big palace and you look up. And over the door is your name. This is my palace. This huge palace is mine. Made of gold, silver bricks, of rubies, pearls. It's huge. You're overwhelmed and you thank Allah. You praise Allah. You look around. You're just so happy. You're feeling so relaxed, so calm. Say salam to people as you meet them, greeting them with peace. You have another look around, because now we're going to have to leave paradise. And you start coming back towards the gates of paradise. Breathing in nice and slowly and smelling the nice fragrance. You start to concentrate now on your breathing as you come to the gates of paradise. Breathe in and out. And you step out of paradise. You concentrate on your breathing, nice and slowly. Breathing in and out. In and out. You're feeling very, very relaxed. All the stresses have gone. When you're ready, you can open your eyes, still concentrating on your breathing. In and out. In and out. Now you're opening your eyes. Welcome back. And you sit up in the chair.
So welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that indeed, and that it was some time for yourself and a little reminder of how we need to be looking after ourselves indeed, and especially the end goal for us, inshallah, as Muslims, and to reach paradise, inshallah. And we'll all accept everything we're doing and reward everything we're doing, inshallah, and that we'll all be in paradise together, inshallah. I mean, sorry that I didn't have much more interaction with you. If anybody wants to come off camera or take off their mic and ask me anything, I do have a few more minutes before I log on. I have 10 minutes actually, before I log on to my radio show. So if you want to ask me anything, or I post up my email address and my phone number there. If you want to contact me personally, do send me a message or an email as well.
Thank you, Jazakallah khair, Kathleen. I think, I don't know, that last bit was really relaxing. So I don't know if people have switched off or they're still there. But, you know, Jazakallah khair, like you said, I think if anybody has any questions for you, I think they've got your email address and they can get in touch with you later on, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Jazakallah khair.
Back to earth again, you know, inshallah. Maybe check in with everybody that we want to sleep and that they're all in a safe place if they are relaxed. If you want to relax, that is so important, but make sure they're in a safe place.
Yeah, Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much.
Welcome, inshallah. I hope it was beneficial, inshallah. Sorry about the hiccups and we weren't able to. Okay, assalamu alaikum.